India has a mixed economy in which both public and private sectors exist in important areas like banking, telecom, healthcare, education, and manufacturing. Many business analysts and experts on economy are of the view that privatization could speed up the economy with the increase in competition, while many of them believe that it can increase problems like unemployment, which can take the economy backward. Reigniting this age-old debate, on 24 February, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, and I quote, that government has no business to be in business.
सरकार खुद एंटरप्राइज चलाएं, उसकी मालिक बनी रहे, आज के युग में न ये आवश्यक है न ये संभव रहा है। इसलिए मैं कहता हूं, गवर्नमेंट हैज नो बिजनेस to be in business.
According to the Government of India, its focus should be on welfare and development of the people. More and more government's power, resources and energy should be in the welfare work. At the same time, when the government starts to do business, there is a lot of damage. I chose this topic to explain because in a financial year of 2021 to 2022, the Indian government has targeted rupees 1.75 lakh crores in revenue from disinvestment, privatization and asset monetization from public sector undertakings or the PSUs. So a question arises that what is privatization, disinvestment or asset monetization? Which are the companies that the government plans to privatize by 100% selling it or selling some stakes in it? Let's dive into the topic and try to find these answers. But before we begin, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Ritan Wadekar. I created this channel because I'm passionate about current affairs and what's going on around the globe, and I want to share this knowledge through the medium of YouTube. The aim of this channel is to provide its audience genuine and concise content. So without wasting any time, let's discuss this topic in detail. Now to understand the topic, let me first explain the basic definitions of these three terms. The transfer of ownership, property or business from the government to the private sector is called as privatization. In this, the government ceases to be the owner of the entity or the business. Privatization is seen to bring in more efficiency and objectivity to the company, something that the government company is not concerned about. Coming to disinvestment, it means to sell a stake in a company or a subsidiary. Businesses and governments resort to disinvestment to pare losses from a non-performing asset or to raise money, which simply means that when a government company is not performing well or causing the government losses, it will sell a stake to a private firm to cover the losses. The process of converting assets into economic value is called as asset monetization. For example, Indian Railways owns 47,000 hectares of land. Now this land can be used commercially and money can be generated from it. And hence this process is called as asset monetization. First, let me explain what a PSU is. A PSU is a state-owned entity wholly owned by the Government of India or one of many state or territorial governments. Over the last 58 years or so, the performance of public sector undertakings have been severely criticized. Truly speaking, the public sector enterprises have been set up to build a socialist pattern of society. Due to this socialist policy, the public sector enterprises suffered a backlash and bared many losses which acted as a liability to the Government of India. Taking advantage of this situation, the private sector industries which were considered incapable accumulated profits. After a few years, they attained a fair degree of maturity. The investment potentiality as well as the managerial ability of these industries were no less inferior to that of public sector industries. Hence, in the light of failure of public sector and the success of private sector, the demand for privatization came along to the forefront when Congress One government under the leadership of P.V. Narasimha Rao came to power in 1991. This was the time when the then socialist country USSR embarked upon economic reforms which were aimed to dismantle socialist policy and introduce privatization. This wave of privatization swept all over India. The international financial institutions, preached the gospel of privatization. The World Bank, in its 1991 report, clamored for the introduction of market-friendly reforms and advised India to deregulate and decontrol the public sector. In July, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman had announced to sell stakes in several government companies. An RTI reply has revealed that the centre is all set for disinvestment in 26 PSUs. According to the reply by the Finance Ministry, the move to sell stakes in PSUs has already been approved by the Union Cabinet, which comes against the backdrop of fierce opposition from trade unions and opposition parties. The Department of Investment and Public Asset Management said in its reply that the government is all set to sell either the 26 companies or sell some stakes in it. The PSUs that go under the hammer include Project and Development Limited, Engineering Projects India Limited, Air India, Cement Corporation India Limited, Indian Medicine and Pharmaceuticals Corporation Limited, Bharat Petroleum Corporation Limited, Shipping Corporation of India, Bharat Pumps and Compressors Limited, Hindustan Newsprint Limited, Hindustan Antibiotics Limited, Indian Tourism Development Corporation. Many trade unions have been opposing disinvestment since the beginning. They allege that the government is trying to hide its economic failure by selling the nation's treasury. Number 1. Increase in competition. Competition is a good thing in business. It drives entrepreneurs and service providers to innovate their products and services and make them more appealing to consumers than their competitors. But when the government is the sole provider of the service, there is no urge to innovation or to serve the consumer. Number 2. Immunity from political influence. The process of privatization reduces political interferences in the public sector enterprises by giving more representation to the private sector in the management. Number 3. Short-term view. A government may think only in the terms of next election, so they will be unwilling to invest in infrastructure projects which may benefit the firm in the long term and instead invest in projects which may benefit them in the short term. So this problem will be solved by privatization. Number 1. Monopoly. A natural monopoly occurs when the most efficient number of firms in an industry is 1. This monopoly is bad for consumers as there is no competition and the firm that has the monopoly can control the prices according to their convenience. Number 2. Public interest. There are many industries that perform important public services like education, healthcare and public transport. Now in these industries, the profit margin shouldn't be the primary goal. For example, in the case of healthcare, it is feared privatizing healthcare would mean a greater priority is given to profit rather than the patient care. Number 3. Less transparency. Privatization can bring in more opportunities for bribery and corruption. Typically, private companies are less transparent than government offices, and this reduced transparency paired with a drive for profit can be a breeding ground for corruption. In my opinion, privatization is a boon to the society, but it should be implemented keeping the disadvantages in mind. So that's it for this video. If you want to share thoughts, please do it in the comment section below. And if you find this video informative, then please share this video. And if you want to support me, then please do by liking and subscribing to my channel. Till then, goodbye and I'll meet you in the next video.